There is a truth that most of us are never taught, but some of us are forced to learn. It's not found in books, not spoken in churches, and certainly not whispered in our moments of comfort. It's a truth born only through fire, through loss, through the unexplainable suffering that makes us question everything. And the truth is this: misfortune is not always a curse. Sometimes it's a mark, a hidden seal placed on your soul by the divine, a signal that you are being shaped brutally, intentionally for something greater. If you've been through deep misfortune, if your life has felt like one long storm that never lets up, then this message is for you. Because not everyone is chosen, but for those who are, the signs are hidden in the very places we try to escape from. I want to tell you something radical: your suffering is not random. It's not because you're weak or cursed or lost. It's because you're being forged. There are 7 signs that the misfortunes you've endured are not punishments, but preparation. And once you begin to recognize them, your entire life begins to rearrange itself. Pain becomes a teacher. Loss becomes a portal. And what once looked like destruction starts to reveal itself as divine construction. But before we get to that, let me ask you this. What if the very thing you've spent your whole life trying to run from is actually the key to your power? The first sign is that your suffering started early. You've been carrying weight since you were young. Maybe you lost someone too soon. Maybe your family didn't see you. Maybe your innocence was stolen before you ever had a chance to understand what it meant. And while others were playing or dreaming, you were surviving. But here's what no one told you. The earlier the pain, the deeper the roots of purpose. Because souls that are chosen for high spiritual responsibility must be trained in endurance, not through comfort but through chaos. Your childhood wasn't broken, it was a spiritual boot camp. And while it wasn't fair, it was sacred. The second sign is that you've always felt different, not better. Just different. Like you were seeing something no one else could. Feeling things too deeply, asking questions no one wanted to answer. And because of that, you often felt alone even in a crowd. Misunderstood, misplaced. You tried to adjust, to blend in, to tone yourself down. But no matter what, the feeling never left. That's because you weren't born to fit in. You were born to reveal, to uncover, to carry a frequency so rare that it automatically disrupts the illusions around you. And that kind of frequency cannot be developed in a comfortable life. It must be activated through contrast.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The third sign is that loss has followed you like a shadow. People, opportunities, dreams, they come and go, sometimes without warning. And just when you think you've found stability, it slips through your fingers. You've grieved things that were never even alive. Hopes, versions of yourself, futures that never manifested. But what you don't see yet is that every loss was a clearing, a divine subtraction. Because chosen ones often try to build lives that are too small for their true calling. So the universe begins to remove what doesn't align, not to punish, but to prepare space. And though it hurts, it's holy. The fourth sign is that you've faced betrayal not just once, but repeatedly. Friends, family, lovers, people close to you have turned, left, or used you. And the pain of being betrayed by someone you trusted cuts deeper than any external loss. But here's the hidden gift. Betrayal teaches you discernment. It sharpens your spiritual vision. It forces you to rely on your inner guidance, rather than external validation. And for the chosen, that's necessary. Because your life isn't meant to be led by consensus, it's meant to be led by conviction. And conviction is born when trust is broken and you have no one but spirit to lean on. The fifth sign is that you've been in the wilderness, that place of spiritual silence and confusion, where nothing makes sense, where prayers seem to go unanswered, where you question everything, even your own sanity. It's the place where your identity dissolves and all the old tools stop working. But the wilderness isn't abandonment, it's initiation. It's where the old self dies, and the true self begins to emerge. It's where the divine strips away the noise so you can finally hear. And if you're in that place now, I want to tell you, don't rush it, don't resist it. Let it shape you. Because when you emerge, you won't be the same. You'll be ready. The sixth sign is that you've carried a hidden strength that even you don't understand. You've made it through things that should have broken you. You've gotten up from places no one expected you to rise from. And even when you were at your lowest, something inside you refused to give up. That's not just resilience, that's remembrance. A deep cellular memory that you are here for something more. And that strength isn't just for you, it's for others. Because part of your mission is to become a mirror for those who have forgotten their own power. And the seventh sign, the most mysterious of all, is that you've had glimpses. Fleeting moments, often in silence or sorrow, where you felt something greater surrounding you. A dream, a sign, a breath of peace in the middle of chaos. These moments are not accidents. They are reminders, echoes of your divinity, messages from the unseen realm telling you, you are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are being guided. So now I ask you, how would your life change if you started seeing every misfortune as a message? What if you stopped labeling what's happening to you as punishment and started asking, what is this preparing me for? Because the truth is, misfortune doesn't mean you're cursed. It means you're called. If you've ever felt like life keeps hitting you harder than others, if you've watched others thrive while you crawl through the mud just to breathe, there's something I need you to hear, not as comfort, but as confirmation. Your pain is not random. It's not a glitch in the system. It's a strategy, a design, a divine setup. And once you begin to truly grasp this, not just with your mind, but with your spirit, something massive begins to shift in your reality. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of life and start recognizing yourself as a vessel for something far greater than you ever imagined. Because when you are chosen, your path doesn't follow the rules of comfort, it follows the rhythm of revelation. The universe doesn't waste time developing souls for small assignments. It doesn't spend years breaking you open, stripping away your ego, and guiding you through fire just so you can live a decent life with a steady job and a few nice memories. No. If your life has been heavy, if your journey has been brutal, it's because the weight of your calling is massive. And that calling can only be unlocked through experience. Pain isn't just there to humble you, it's there to hone you. Every betrayal, every delay, every closed door is part of a larger choreography designed to move you, sometimes violently, into greater alignment with your real identity. But here's where it gets even deeper. The universe doesn't just use pain to move you. It uses pain to filter you. Because not everyone is meant to walk the path of the chosen. Not everyone can handle the isolation, the silence, the uncertainty. So the universe places obstacles on your path not to stop you, but to reveal you, to test your essence. Will you still choose integrity when no one is watching? Will you still listen to your soul when the external world offers you distractions and shortcuts? Will you still trust the process when everything around you is screaming that you're lost? These are not trivial questions. These are spiritual checkpoints. And every time you pass one, your crown gets heavier, your light gets brighter, your voice gets bolder, not because you're louder, but because it carries weight. Have you ever noticed how the most powerful people you've met, the ones who walk into a room and shift the energy without saying a word, often carry a kind of pain in their eyes? That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's the residue of surviving spiritual storms most people can't comprehend. And that's what you're becoming. Your pain is not just shaping your story, it's shaping your frequency. And that frequency is what will draw people to you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Because you've touched the bottom and found God there. Because you've been shattered and still chose love. That's what makes you powerful. What if I told you that your delays were divine protection? That the relationship that fell apart, the job you didn't get, the opportunity that slipped through your hands, what if those weren't failures, but redirects? What if the universe removed what you wanted so it could make space for what your soul needed? You see, to us, it looks like loss, but to spirit, it's strategy. Spirit doesn't operate in straight lines. It weaves, it bends, it waits. And it doesn't care about your timelines, it cares about your readiness. Many of us think we're ready for our purpose, but we're not. Not yet. Because carrying a divine calling is not glamorous. It's costly. It will strip you. It will isolate you. It will demand that you die to everything false within you. And so before the universe gives you the platform, it gives you the pain. It lets you break. It lets you weep. It lets you question everything. Not because you're failing, but because you're forging. And in that fire, your ego burns off. Your attachments fall away. And what remains is essence. Pure, radiant, untouchable essence. And maybe you're in that fire right now. Maybe everything is falling apart. Maybe you don't know who you are anymore. Good. That means you're close. That means the old you is dissolving so the real you can emerge. And I know it hurts. I know it feels like death. But what if it's not death at all? What if it's birth? What if this chaos is sacred labor and your soul is crowning? So I'll ask you this. What if your life has been hard because you're being trusted with something holy? What if your suffering is not a burden, but a blueprint? What if the very thing you're trying to escape is the exact doorway you need to walk through? The chosen ones don't get to skip the suffering, but they do get to transform it into wisdom, into presence, into power. And that's the real gift. Not that life gets easier, but that you get stronger, clearer, wiser, more attuned to the divine. The divine setup doesn't make sense until it's complete. But one day, you look back on every moment of pain and whisper, "Thank you. I see it now. I understand." Until then, keep walking, keep trusting, keep transforming. There comes a moment often in silence, often after the weeping has stopped, when you realize that your suffering has not just broken you, it has changed you. Not into someone weaker, but into someone wider. Wider in spirit, in perception, in presence. You begin to understand that your pain didn't just leave scars, it left symbols. And those symbols, though invisible to the world, are recognized in the spiritual realm. They are the signs of one who has transmuted fire into light and grief into vision. Because that's what chosen ones are called to do, not to escape suffering, but to alchemize it. To turn the darkness they've endured into a compass that leads others back home to themselves. You see, most people run from their pain. They numb it, bury it, or pretend it never happened. But you didn't run. Maybe you tried, but something always pulled you back into the depths. That's not failure. That's initiation. Because only those who are willing to sit with their sorrow, to stare down their shadows, to open the door to the monsters hiding within, only those people can become vessels for transformation. The world doesn't need more polished perfection. It needs alchemists. People who can walk into a room full of despair and carry a frequency that says, "I've been there. I made it through. And so can you." But the process of alchemy is not glamorous. It's raw. It's sacred work done in invisible chambers of the soul. It happens when you choose to feel what others avoid. When you let the tears cleanse what logic cannot. When you sit in the wreckage of your life and say, "Let it all burn if it must just show me what's real." That moment of surrender is not weakness. It's the turning point. It's where the pain begins to soften, not because it disappears, but because it finally has meaning. And once pain has meaning, it becomes fuel. Not the kind that burns recklessly, but the kind that illuminates a path. Have you ever noticed that some of the most powerful healers, leaders, and visionaries carry stories so dark they barely speak them aloud? That's because power isn't born from ease. It's born from facing what others refuse to face. And when you do that, when you survive what was meant to silence you, you don't just find purpose. You become a prophecy. A living, breathing example that darkness can be transformed. That trauma can be rewritten, that the human spirit, when aligned with the divine, is unbreakable. Let's be honest, there were moments when you thought you wouldn't survive. When the pain felt too heavy, when the silence felt like punishment, when the path felt like a curse. But you're still here, not because you're lucky, but because your soul remembered. Somewhere within you there was a fire that refused to go out, even when the winds of life howled against you. That fire is not just resilience, it's revelation. It's a sacred knowing that you were never meant to live an ordinary life. You were meant to embody transformation. The alchemy of suffering is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle, a devotion, a conscious choice to meet every moment, especially the hard ones, with curiosity instead of resistance. To ask, what is this trying to teach me? What part of me is being invited to rise? Because every wound is an invitation to deeper power, and every heartbreak is a portal to sacred wisdom, if you dare to step through it. And here's the paradox. The more you alchemize your pain, the more others begin to see themselves in you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Because you have walked through the fire and carry the scent of smoke in your spirit. It's not something you can fake. It's a vibration that speaks to others on a soul level. It says, you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're becoming. Your suffering has not been wasted. Not a single tear, not a single sleepless night, not a single scream into the void has been for nothing. It's all been part of your training. You're becoming. You're birthing. And the more you embrace it, the more your purpose begins to take form, not as a job title or a social role, but as a presence. A way of being that changes the atmosphere without words, that heals without effort, that reveals without force. So I ask you, what if your greatest pain is the very thing your soul chose so you could carry the frequency of healing in a world drowning in numbness? What if your darkness was never meant to destroy you, but to define you, not by limitation, but by light? True alchemy doesn't just change how you see the world. It changes how the world sees you. Because when you walk in your full truth scars and all, you give others permission to do the same. You become a doorway, a guide, a living prophecy. And that is the highest purpose of pain, to awaken you to your own divinity so that you can awaken others to theirs. There is a moment after the chaos, after the grief, after the endless searching, where everything goes quiet. Not the kind of quiet that feels empty, but the kind that feels sacred. You wake up one day and realize the storm has passed. The noise that once haunted your mind has faded. The ache in your chest has softened, and you're left standing in a strange stillness, not quite knowing who you are anymore, but knowing with certainty that you are no longer the one who began this journey. This is the moment most people don't talk about, the moment after the suffering, when silence becomes your coronation, when you're not just healed, you're crowned. The crown doesn't arrive with applause. It doesn't come with lights or recognition. It comes quietly, invisibly, in a room where no one else can see it. It rests on your head the moment you stop needing the world to validate your path. The moment you realize that your peace is no longer negotiable. That your truth no longer needs defending. That your worth was never up for discussion. That's when you know the reign has begun. Not over others, but over your own energy, your own choices, your own sacred life. You don't need a throne. You don't need titles. You don't need to explain how you got here. Because the ones who are meant to feel your presence will feel it. They will sense the depth, the gravity, the still power that comes only from someone who has died and returned, not in body, but in identity. The old you. The one who begged, who chased, who questioned, who doubted. They're gone. And in their place stands someone who has seen the underworld and come back with eyes that see everything differently. This is the true reward of the chosen. Not fame, not fortune, but clarity. The ability to walk through the world unattached, undistracted, undisturbed. Because you've already lost everything that wasn't real. You've already been stripped of illusions. You've already watched your false identities burn. Now, you move differently. You speak less, but say more. You do less, but impact more. You become magnetic, not because you're trying, but because you're aligned. And here's the secret the world doesn't want you to know. The most powerful people are not loud. They are anchored, rooted, present. And they didn't get there by accident, they got there by enduring what most people avoid. That's you. That's your story. Every misfortune, every delay, every heartbreak, it led you here. To the silence, to the crown. And now, everything changes. But don't be mistaken, your reign isn't passive. It's not about sitting still and waiting for the world to notice. It's about embodying the truth you fought so hard to find. It's about walking into spaces and shifting the energy just by being who you are. It's about speaking when spirit says speak, moving when the divine says move, and remaining still when the ego wants to prove itself. That's real power. That's spiritual royalty. So now I ask you, what will you do with all you've become? Will you hide it? Will you shrink back into the shadows of survival? Or will you rise not to conquer, but to serve, not to impress, but to embody? You are not here to convince anyone. You are here to remember who you are, and to let that remembrance become a light for others who are still lost in the dark. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are becoming. And now that the silence has crowned you, now that the suffering has ended, your reign begins not in noise, but in knowing. Not in control, but in clarity. You are the proof that misfortune can be divine, that pain can be prophetic, that the chosen are not born, they are forged. And you, my friend, are forged in fire and crowned in silence. Now go live like it, walk like it, serve like it. And never forget, everything you went through wasn't just for your healing. It was for your becoming. You are the chosen, and your time is now.